All right, 4 o'clock on a Monday. That's right, 4 o'clock on a Monday. You know what time it is. It's time to hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Joey Knish, producer extraordinaire Zach Phillips, back with us. I am merely Brad Powers. Before we get to all your questions, comments, concerns, and a best bet at the end of today's show, let me remind everybody, first and foremost, that Hit the Books is brought to you by BetStamp. The easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is to use multiple sports books and always get the best odds. We recommend using an odds comparison tool like BetStamp. BetStamp compares odds across every sports book for games, futures, and player props. You can save time and money by checking BetStamp before you bet. Download the app today. If you are looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, please check out the offers available at betstamp.app/hitthebooks, or you can hit the link in the description. If you sign up through this page, it does help support the show. Knish, busy weekend for the Michigan Wolverines. You tweeted it. Let's just get right into it. Recruiting was off to a slow start. There was some concerns if you follow that, but good official visit recruiting weekend for Michigan. The commitments are pouring in, and Michigan's class is going from ranked, I think, just about a week ago was like 51st, and now maybe looking to jump in the top 10 here in the next week.
Yeah, it was definitely a slow. I think some of the staff transition played a big role in that. A couple of the the guys from the last staff, Ben Herbert, Steve Klingsky, big time recruiters on staff. Obviously, going to move with the Chargers, they had to get a few more guys in. I'm a little surprised at how many. Kind of one of those rains it pours. They had the big victors weekend at the Big House. But as you're saying, I mean, this was a class that was obviously going to move up. It was ranked around 5th, but you were kind of thinking, would this be after a national title, a transition class, a 20 to 25 class? Now with some of the guys they got in the hopper, some more crystal balls coming in, probably going to be what looks to be like a top 10 class. And I think if Michigan, that's your sweet spot. You're not going to be a top 3 class year in, year out like the Ohio States or the Georgias. A much needed recruiting bump. They got no joke, the color guy for Michigan State radio. His name's Jason Strayhorn. His son committed to Michigan over the week. I don't even think he was like Michigan State was in the fold. He was considering like Alabama, Ohio State commits to Michigan. Then that coincides with some of the, I think, John, on this show, we've taken some Michigan State unders, but the word on the street is that the money right now is not going to flow in until there's some forward momentum in that program. So,
well, the forward momentum's not happening wins and losses this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's got Jonathan Smith. He's got a tall job ahead of him there. I don't know what's,
chicken or the egg, man. I'd start spending some money now. I mean, to try to get some players in there because they're a little short, to say the least.
I agree. But they might not be on the field this year, but boy, does this Michigan team got a 10-2 feel to it if I've ever seen it, baby. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get to the mark here, and then you and Fez will be having dinner at the lunch at the discount steakhouse at the Peppermill.
Yeah, I mean, you and I are going at it a little bit on Twitter today. All joking aside, I do think recruiting is kind of like pun intended, crystal ball into the future a little bit as far as your program. It's a pulse of your program. So does it really have to do with anything Michigan football this year? No, but I would say if I was going to give it, I would start going to get critical. If it was a month or so, 6 weeks from now, and they were still sitting on 8 or 9 or 10 recruits and not in the top 20, top 25 coming off a national championship, I would have been worried. But obviously, you got to give it some time. And somebody correctly, got after me. I was critical of Notre Dame.
My man Benji, who's on the over. I think he's on the over with me. I will say, and just to put a bow on it, the difference in the Sharon Moore approach and the Jim Harbaugh approach to recruiting seems to be significant. Whereas Harbaugh was a lot more, I can kind of, not that he didn't vote, but like, I can bring in guys and mold them and win my way. Sharon Moore has expanded the recruiting staff to the biggest it's ever been. They're spending more money on players in some of those realms than they have before. So it's a different approach for sure. Now, can he translate that to wins on the field? We'll see. But he's definitely taken a more aggressive recruiting approach than Harbaugh did.
That is the Michigan expert himself, Joey Knish. Let's get to the chat. Very active chat already, I see. And obviously,
you can tell we're getting close to the season, baby.
Yeah.
People are piling in.
RW fan 23 in the chat. Happy Hit the Books Monday to both of you gentlemen. RW's always in the chat. What are you guys' thoughts on Alabama under 9.5 minus 135? I originally bet Alabama under 9.5. I want to say minus 120-ish. When the DeBoer, they had win totals up at that time already. When the DeBoer stuff was breaking, and it looked like they were going to get really hammered in the portal. I think 9.5 is a good number. So it's a no bet for me, even though I already have it in pocket. I just was trying to get out in front of anticipated that Alabama was going to take a big step back. Now I just think it's since everything's settled down, 9.5, I think is the right number. Where are you there?
Yeah, I'm kind of where I thought for a minute there was this mass exodus. You're like, is Alabama going to be like a 6-6 team next year? Are they going to have any players left? They definitely stemmed the tide. They brought in some portal replacements. Not like for like to what they lost but we're talking about a guy in Kalen DeBoer who's been the best ATS coach of the last 5 years in college football, all-time ATS coach. A guy who I don't think with the pieces on offense will have a lot of problem getting it going. With that said, I think 9-3 is more likely than 10-2. I'll say that. So I'm not jumping to the window there to play some plus money. I would need a decent price on a flat 9, to want to go over there. So I think the market's just got that one pretty much nailed as where it should be.
And it hasn't moved too much ever since that. It just hasn't moved. Talking Alabama, spam me Sosa in the chat. What do you guys think of Alabama 9-1 to win the SEC? I will say I got involved finally in the conference futures market the past week. Got the portfolio going. I hit all 10 last year. I got all 10 right. Alabama is a bet that I made in that 9 plus 950 range. I thought, I think that's a little juicy for Alabama. So I did make an Alabama to win the SEC at plus 950. That's in pocket.
Interesting. All right. I was gonna say a little, but
right there. Yep. Plus 950.
I guess I'm gonna say
Georgia's at home.
Yeah, the Georgia game is at home. I'm
a little more optimistic. I'm reading more on Alabama, and man, I do a weekly show in Tuscaloosa, and I gave him a hot take. I actually think Alabama in some aspects will be better coached this year than what they've been coached in the last couple of years.
That's what? It's a sneaky take there from BP that I like, because if you look at the when Saban was doing the coordinator shuffle in and out and reviving careers, with Kiffin, Sark, the last couple years, he kind of, I don't want to say crapped out, but it definitely went from a level of coordinator who was Power 5 head coach material that he was reviving to
the Cleveland Browns tight end coach, Tommy Rees.
Yeah. So I agree with you that there's some upside there. I don't hate that. Do I think they're going to beat Georgia? No. But we're getting that type of price where if they win that game, I'm not saying they're guaranteeing themselves an SEC title, but they would be in pole position to get there, and then you'd be sitting at, so you'd be sitting real pretty.
There's no East and West anymore, right?
Right.
So we'll see in that one. Georgia, Kirby did not have good luck against his former mentor, Saban, outside the one title game. So I don't know if that's gone as far as that little hex that Alabama's had on Georgia, but I got to see it first there. But I thought, hey, when's the last time in the last 15 years we get Alabama at that price to win the SEC? It hasn't happened. And I think they got a really good coach. So it wasn't my favorite bet that I made in the futures market, in the conference futures market, but it is a bet that I made. RW fan in the chat, what's your thoughts on Cincinnati over 5 minus 150? I see Tent got involved on Cincinnati. I originally was pessimistic on Cincinnati. I respect Tent. I'm not a Satterfield guy, so I know they're going to be a much improved team. Got all 5 starters back on the offensive line. They were better than their record indicated last year as far as the stats said that, but I look at Cincinnati getting much worse under Satterfield in year one, Louisville getting much better without Satterfield in year one under Brom. I'm not there yet. Where are you? Did you take part in Tent's overplay on Cincy?
Yeah, I took a little piece there. I would say the biggest sell is kind of what we talked about in regards to the Big 12 in general, of just without, a real elite crop at the top. Yeah, and again, I'm not I will align with you that I'm not the a Satterfield truther either, but there's just not gonna be a lot of the games where you would say, oh, they don't have a chance to compete in this game. And like the first 3 weeks, they've got an easy dub on Towson. We're a little down on Pitt with both of us. Miami of Ohio, a good MAC team, but still a MAC team there. And then you go into conference and, there'll be dogs in a lot of games, but I don't see, a spread where, they've got Houston at home, Arizona State, Colorado, even, West Virginia, Iowa. To me, I don't know how many of those games you would say is not winnable. At Kansas State, at UCF, at Texas Tech, obviously very tough. The rest of the schedule there, you'd be asking, can they win 3 games in conference? It's possible. So again, I'm not going to, I don't love it as much as he did. But I think it has some legs there.
Everyone's giving me these positions on over in the Big 12. Somebody's going to be losing at some point.
Right.
I got people that are high on UCF. People that are higher on Baylor than I am. People love Utah to be the clear-cut winner in the conference. There's some people that like Kansas this year, like Iowa State. Somebody's got to lose some of these games. So who is it? Is it Coach Prime in Colorado? I kind of hope so, because you and I have had there. So there we go there. Charles. Oh, I want to say, guys, we're a little bit abbreviated show today. We're going to cut it off at right around 45. So 4:45, 4:50-ish at the absolute latest. Person here has got to get his back looked at. So we'll let you know who that is. Charlie Kelly, or let you guys ponder.
Trying to stay together.
Yeah. We're getting old, man. I had blood work done today. So, getting to be that age where I got to go to the doctor or get it over with before football starts, because it's tough to break away during football. Charlie Kelly in the chat, longtime watcher, first-time commenter. Love it. Thoughts on USC +7 week 1 LSU? Where are you at there? I originally laid 6 with LSU. And this is again, February. Lines are up. I'm thinking, LSU is going to be – people are thinking, they lose the Heisman Trophy winner and Jaden Daniels. I don't think they're taking that big of a step back. I was thinking their defense was going to be much improved, and then they never got defensive tackles in the portal like I expected. I'm kind of neutral on that game, pun intended, at a neutral site.
Me and friend of the show franchise are actually head-to-head in this game. He likes he's on LSU. I'm on USC. We agreed to I think 6.5 was our number. We went head-to-head on. Again, do I think it's like a play of the the year type? No, but I agree with some of the things you said. Where a little bit of I think the money that Brian Kelly was expecting, some of that talent influx to get in, they didn't totally get it, and I'm probably higher on USC than most going into this year. I like Miller Moss. I like Lincoln Riley. This is going to be hopefully they need to let me on forward progress for this take because of the Bears. I don't think Caleb Williams had that fan. Last year, there were games that I think he kind of put them out of, and it was all the Caleb Williams. He wanted to go off script. I think if you put a guy with talent like Miller Moss in this offense with these receivers, he's going to be able to execute. And they got a real DC. They kicked Alex Grinch to the freaking curb, and they got a guy who knows how to coach tackling and not we're going to just try and, strip the ball here. So real DC quarterback that I think can operate the Riley system within the mark. Give me USC in this one. Think maybe sprinkle a little bit. Think they're live there.
Is that best bet material for you?
It would be at 7. At 6.5. not so much.
All right. There you go. Shop around, folks. Grant in the chat. Ohio State looking like the most complete team in college football this year. Coaching talent, depth wise, is Will Howard good enough to get a title? 4-1 might be worth a bet. I'm not there. So I still have Georgia number one in my power rankings because I do think quarterback matters, and Georgia's got a much better quarterback than Ohio State. So I would not make that bet. What say you?
I totally agree with you that one, I think Georgia's the better team, and two, I especially in the kind of this new playoff format and that the 4-1, I would be more apt to it in the old like just 4 teams got in system. You add in some potential additional game teams that coming up. I just think there's a little bit more variable there that and again, do they have maybe the most talented roster? Would I even say, yeah, you could sell me on that. But again, as you said with the quarterback position, and I don't love the way they're structuring the off that this continues to be like we're going to man ball power. We brought in Chip Kelly. He likes to run it all up. I just don't love that in terms of winning a national championship. So 4-1 wouldn't be for me. I tell you what, what do they, when is that?
That Oregon game is, I think, on October 12th. I have Oregon right now a short favor in that one. I would rather wait until after that game, win or lose, to get involved in the Buckeyes. They go to Oregon and they smash them. I'd be like, okay, I mean, this team legit. And if I get a fair price at that point,
close loss, and we can get a better price.
Yeah. So what I think, and again, I have Oregon favored right now. They lose the game, I get better than 4-1. So, because then I would kind of like Ohio State in the rematch in the Big Ten title game. So, and then they would, if they won the Big Ten title game, they would get a, top 4 seed. So, yeah, just not enough yet. Let's wait until that October 12th showdown against Oregon to get involved there. Grant, also in the talking playoffs, Notre Dame minus 165 to make the college football playoff. Slightly juicy. They have a clear-cut route to go undefeated, sneak in with 1 loss. Thoughts? I'll say it again. I want to see them in A&M. That's a 50-50 game right off the bat. They lose it, I can get a plus sign next to the playoff, and they can run the table. Or they win it, they look good. That's probably their toughest game of the schedule. I'll automatically think, hey, this team is going to be a clear-cut favorite the rest of the way, and they can lose one. I need the A&M game. I mean, that's the toughest game on their schedule. So I'd rather be involved in that market after that game.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Like that number, and I know I don't love just like, the schedule's a bit, like it's pretty, sets up pretty well after that. But to me, that like I need to see something more from like the team itself. I think Notre Dame is a good team. Yeah. Do I think they're a team that like has the pieces all together to run the table? It's not really there for where I would want to lay minus 165. If you gave me even 2-1, 3-1 with that schedule, because I agree, an 11-1 Notre Dame is getting in the college football playoff, or regardless of which game they would drop there. Even if they drop the Texas name, they run the table, they're in. Even it's against cupcakes, but I don't want to lay that price because I don't think they're a truly elite team where they couldn't drop some of those games, even that they would be favored in. So to me, there's other ways I'd like to play Notre Dame than laying that to get in.
Yeah, I mean, I can't trust Freeman completely yet to win every single game that he's supposed to. He hasn't so far the first couple of years. He's still a young coach. So again, if Notre Dame truly is going to take that next step, they need to win the A&M game. So I'd like to see it first. Notre Dame program does not win these games, has not won a big-time road game in a long time. So, again, I think there's a good possibility you can get a better price after week 1. Charlie Kelly again in the chat. Any Big Ten and or ACC long shots you like? Iowa 60-1, SMU 25-1. Iowa, no way for me.
Iowa 6, put another 0 on that, Chuck, before I'd want to get that price. Iowa 6, what do you think you're going to beat Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, be the champ? Come on now. You're better than that.
3 bets in the Big Ten. Iowa was not one of them. I can tell you that. You know who I bet in the Big Ten. I'm Mr. Chalk when it comes to conferences. SMU, 25-1's okay.
I just like that a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah. Of the two, definitely SMU for me. My only look, I like the team on paper quite a bit. I bet SMU's win total over. I just worry about an upgraded strength of schedule. How does that impact them moving up from G5 to P5 and P4, I should say. And now expecting them to win the conference in year one, I don't know. NC State was kind of the long shot. I see Tent was big on Virginia Tech. I'm big on Virginia Tech this year. So there's 3-4 teams in the ACC that can make a run at it. SMU be one of them.
Yeah, that would be. You know what? I like the team better a little bit than the way it sets up for them with the price of just. I tend to agree with you that first year coming up, and it's like I think they can have a nice season. I don't know if they have the depth, especially on the trenches, to put together a run in the ACC where it's like a one-loss ACC schedule. I mean, just the way it's going to go, like you're going to have to. You don't have much margin for error there. So I think, like, would it surprise me if SMU went 9-3 or that type of, had a really nice year? No. To win the conference, though, I think it's probably a step too much for them. But of the two there, that one to me, like the price better, think it actually has the potential to be live. That Iowa one, if they got a cash out button, hit the cash out button, my friend. And, right, take your money back and go, have a nice dinner or something with the wife.
Onion Man in the chat. What are your thoughts on Memphis under 9.5 minus 170? Actually, kind of like Memphis this year, but 9.5 feels high, even with the juice. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't. I'm still not sold yet as far as their defense. I made it 9, so minus 170 is starting to get to that. If you figure the factor in the juice, that's getting close to 9, but. If you told me what to bet there, I would bet under 9.5. The market's all over the board on Memphis. I see 8.5. I see 9s, 9.5. 9 would be my number.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Again, not a price that I'm screaming. I want to lay minus 170 at that, but it's a Memphis, and it's in an improving American Conference. I think with some of the additions and the teams they have to face. I just think it could be a little bit trickier than it has been in years past. And I know that, and another team that really tends to, to drop a game they shouldn't per se over the years. And again, the style they play, almost like we just said with an SMU, where they're not going to dominate the trenches. They might have some games where their defense, absolutely falls off the reservation in that. So, yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I don't like in conference. South Florida, UTSA, Tulane, 3 of the better teams in conference. Memphis got to play all of them on the road, plus at Florida State non-conference. So, I mean, if you told me if I had a little bit, like if it was minus 140 instead of minus 170, I'm just telling you that would be in pocket.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because, and I mean, Troy, not an easy game for coming over from the belt, and that they don't have an easy non-con at all. So,
no.
And then, as you said, improving ACC.
They've struggled. The floor. They'll be all in on the Florida State game. They got at Navy right after that. They've struggled with Navy on a year in, year out basis. Memphis. I feel like I watch that game on like a Thursday night every year, and it's a close game. Definitely 9 would be my number there. So I'd shop around for that under. Let's see if you can get a little bit better than even minus 170. Joshua in the chat. Love your work, guys. Circa, I did see this. Released week 0-1 games. Not too much variance as far as totals they released here. And today, a couple hours ago, have a few totals circled. One big one on the radar. Sam Houston, Rice, 47.5. Seems low. I have not bet that one yet. I sent you 5 or 6 about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I bet one today. I'll just say it. I'm not going to hide. I bet Jacksonville State, Coastal Carolina under 61.5. I bet that one. I just think it's a little high. Jacksonville State, I know, runs a lot of tempo. They're 1 or 2 in the country in tempo, but they don't score. They can run a bunch of plays. They don't score. Coastal, obviously, Grayson McCall's not walking through that door anymore, folks. He's not back for his 7th year. So I just think in a very competitive week 1 game, 61.5 is a little high. So that was the one that I bet on the releases today.
Yeah, you know what? I know our guy, EJ Warner, moved over to Rice to be quarterback, who I like. Sam Houston, towards the end of for a season and a half there.
Oh,
They had
They're not
about
under
the worst
team.
offense like in the history of college. So if you're waiting the last 2 years of Sam Houston offense, you might make this, total like, that 30. But they did show some life at the end of the season and start getting it together and putting up some numbers.
I would lean. I'm looking at my numbers right now. I'd lean over.
Yeah, I would
Chase
say,
Bauer,
I
kid
can
at
only.
Sam Houston, I think is a little bit of an upgrade. He can run around. I actually thought he did okay with Central Michigan last year. He's in the mix there at quarterback. I like Warner. I haven't bet it yet though.
Yeah, I was gonna say the number doesn't. I would lean that way as well. If we're talking it's 45 or something, then I'd be kind of there. I think this is probably one that still closes kind of in the high 40s. So, but I would lean that way. I don't hate the the thoughts there.
Unless I'll be honest, when it comes to overs, unless I know they're making a schematic change, they're going to run a bunch of tempo. I kind of like the weight weather. I'm just not a big, just from the past, but I got a bunch of over tickets. And then, we got a front coming through. We got 20-mile-an-hour wind in a bunch of these games. I got to get a little closer towards the game week. And I don't originate totals like I used to. I mean, there's a lot, full disclosure, there's a lot sharper totals guys than me as far as making a line, knowing exactly where shit's going to go. I'm not there. I'm more of a side player. Silent.
Oh no! I mean, I agree with you strong. I was a sides guy. Been more of a sides guy myself. Either I know usually the total stuff are people that send me totals. I bet the total. So but no, I mean, I just you were flowing, baby. I was enjoying it.
No, I know when there's a mistake in a total. I mean, I know enough when that's off like 5 points, 6 points. But right now, there wasn't a bunch that I thought were considerably off. Even the ones I sent you, I didn't think there was like slam dunk. Oh my God, this total is significantly off. I thought that whoever was doing them, FanDuel, and then even today at Circa, they did a pretty good job. There wasn't anything stupid.
Yeah.
Anthony in the chat, big fan of the show. Does Joey have anything to say about those Boston fraud boys now after their parade?
Jesus Christ. It's a college football show, Anthony. We're not talking NBA here. NBA off season. We'll see you. We'll see you in 6 months, or hopefully with the Celtics team. Never again.
You or Zach, because it is a big game tonight. Game 7. You got any thoughts?
Yeah.
Game 7 NHL tonight.
I actually took a little. There was one of the. I got some exchange access and some plus money popped on the Panthers, like plus 103, 104. So I took a little bit of that. I know everybody loves the Oilers. I know your girl Kate, for Oiler, big Kate fan, the Oiler girl. I know you're an Oilers man yourself, but took a little Panthers plus money. I didn't see which members of Edgework were on, so hopefully Moretto and Alber aren't on the Panthers, but so a little bit of Panthers tonight for me.
Hasn't the price moved significantly?
There were some Oilers. You can still get it. There's some like a few places if you've got like Penny or Exchange have like plus 102, plus 104 on the Panthers.
Wow, that seems. What I know what it is in the NBA. It's like home teams win like 75-80% of the time. What's it in the NHL? A little less, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's definitely less. But I think my guy. Hold on here. I saw my guy. One, I don't even remember his Twitter name here, not on this game, but basically the price has changed like from game 5 in Florida. It's like a top-down approach. I remember I was going to call him by his actual name. Top-down approach, game 5 closed, Florida minus 144. Wow. Game 7 in Florida, plus it is now you can get plus 100, plus 103. So, yeah.
Has it ever happened in the Stanley Cup Finals, a 3-0 blown? Has anyone ever done it?
No, 3-0. I know 3. I don't think the Stanley Cup. I know 3-0s have been done in the NHL, but I don't think the Cup Final, unless it's some, like I'm sure Johnny and Rob will talk about like 1932 and like the original 6 it happened.
Hey, the Leafs 1943, I believe, was the last time it was done in the Cup Finals, baby.
It wasn't really
the Leafs
back from 3.
Yeah. So I had to jump in to say it. Come on, give some respect.
Well, it was actually. the American teams were fighting in a world war during this time.
Yeah.
So whoever they're playing there, they're playing like the third liners from Boston or something because Boston's first line was
Yeah, they
busy
had
on,
to, ship on over.
storming the
There is
beach
a
of the
thing called
Normandy.
D-Day and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, our guys were busy, taking over France.
Very well done, guys. That's your hockey report for Hit the Books for this week. Michael in the chat, more LSU overs this year. Lost their best players on their dreadful D. Should still be good this year. I'm not there. No, in fact, I'm kind of opposite. I think their staff and their defensive staff's better. I would tend to want to go unders because I don't have the Heisman Trophy quarterback running around. I do think Nussmeier will be fine, but he's not going to be Jaden Daniels running around and opening up the offense. They don't have 2 first-round wide receivers either on their offense.
No, for sure. I think they'll slow it down a little bit too. Just overall, as you said, with Nussmeier, I don't think the pace will be as frenetic with Daniels. The defense won't be as bad. So I tend to agree with you there. And maybe, a little hint there on the week 1 total. That's all I'll say.
Man, what are you doing? People are listening. I've been trying to keep that one under wraps. That's a sneaky one. I'll just say that. Damn you. Damn you to hell. I got to look at right after I should be looking now because everything moves when we're talking. People are listening. I'm going to have to bet that as soon as after the show. Spam me in the chat. Thoughts on UTSA to win the AAC? I've said this multiple times on the show. I did get involved in the conference future markets. I like UTSA this year. I am actually much higher on UTSA than the market. Bet over their win total. I bet them to win the AAC. I know everyone's talking Memphis in that league. I think UTSA is right there. I love Jeff Traylor. I know they lose their all-everything quarterback. Frank Harrison was there, felt like a decade. But I like what he's done recruiting-wise there. I like the coaching staff continuity. I like they got 2 guys up front on that defensive line that are 300-plus pounders that are legit. They play better defense than Memphis. Yeah, I did bet UTSA to win the conference.
What price did you bet? Just because 5-1 doesn't make me want to jump off the screen.
I think it was a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I was assuming so. Yeah. But I agree. And I know
not too much, but I think 6-1. 6-1 is what I got it, or 650.
I remember, and you talking about it's pinging my head when you said that, just about Traylor's recruiting at UTSA. Being some of the best recruiting classes like they've ever seen. And I agree with you. And you saw it in some games last year, especially, the bowl game where it's like, this team's got some like guys like that look like Power 5 players in the trenches for a difference. So I don't hate that at 5-1. Who's starting? The name's escaping me. Who's starting now? For the Frank Harris is gone. Who's
McCown probably quarterback played in the bowl game. Got a little bit. He looked okay.
Yeah, he played when Harris was hurt last year. Yeah,
he got some snaps in. Again, they were down, no panic in the bowl game. I think got down a couple touchdowns early, dominated Marshall after that point. They got 3. I mean, to really go in the weeds here, they got 3 good running backs that are they're deep there. Again, this is a pretty deep team, and they upgraded schedule last year, moved to the American, didn't miss a beat. I mean, it came down to the Tulane game in the regular season finale as far as going to the American championship game. This is a legit program. I'm surprised Jeff Traylor's still there. He's a really good coach. 39-14, he just wins.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm surprised.
If the Baylor job opens up or something at the end of this year, that would be the guy I call.
I don't hate. I'm a little surprised too. There hasn't been as much interest in him as.
He must not he interviews for all these jobs. He must not interview well. Oh well.
Yeah.
Charles in the chat for long shots to make the playoffs. Are you waiting for just make or miss playoff markets, or are you just playing them to win the Natty? I'll be perfectly honest. I'm waiting for like Circa or Westgate to open up because they usually in those markets they offer the best prices. Conference futures market. Why didn't I bet it? Well, I mean, I waited till Circa opened up and half my bets were in Circa. So, I mean, that's just what it is. I'm just a professional shopper. In those markets, I mean, if the market's dealing 4-1 and somebody comes along and is giving me 7-1, which this happens all the time, is giving me 7-1, then okay, now we'll bet it. So that's where I'm at in the playoffs. I'm waiting. Have you bet too many playoffs? I bet one. I'll say I actually laid the juice Oregon, I laid at 215. That was my biggest one that I bet to make the playoffs because I thought they're not that far behind, in my opinion. Ohio State and Georgia. Ohio State and Georgia is being traded at minus like 600. Minus 215, I thought was a little cheap. I thought that should have been in the minus 350, minus 400 range on the Ducks. So
Yeah,
that's the only one I made.
I agree with your price sensitive point there that the lowest hold will likely come from a circa there. However, this to me is the market that in season I'm most looking forward to, where I think results and places reposting this to me is the market with the most potential for seeing things during the year that take advantage of, because the national title was never one that, like, it was always, going into most years, it's like these 4 teams going to be these 6 teams. There's no really way. The price may small fluctuate, but you're never going to get. I think this year, at least it'll be intriguing to follow of what you're seeing potentially during the year when some teams lose, the way it's going to shake out. And there's the great unknown of, it's like, there's going to be some committee action, who's voting to get in, who's going to win these. It's anytime you're getting like the first of a kind thing, I think that's the best time to take advantage of, some people that, bookmakers that haven't priced this before in this type of scenario. So we'll see.
That, folks, is Joey Knish, and that was the smartest thing said on today's show. Love it. Totally agree. I think as long as they're going to, and I think from everything I've literally asked several bookmakers, are you going to keep this up during the season? They have said yes. So I think that's the buy lows are going to be there, because there will be some ebbs and flows. These teams are playing ridiculous. A lot of these teams are playing ridiculous schedules this year, even like a Georgia, who I love. I mean, at Alabama, at Texas, at Ole Miss, they're going to probably drop one of those games. Let's bet them after they lose one of those games. Instead, Tom in the chat, thoughts on Charlotte plus 10 in week 1. James Madison might be getting a little overvalued. I do have Charlotte in pocket on that one. I tend to agree that 10 would be the 10 or anything above 10 would be the right price there on Charlotte. Have you bet that game?
Yeah. You know what? We've talked about JMU being a team that kind of got rated by Indiana and the coach going over there. I guess this is one of those, there'll be a little unknown of how much of a step up can Charlotte make under Biff the next year. The offense was really brutal for, last year. And then how much of a decline to get Jay. So it would be a low confidence. I agree with you. I think taking the points there is the right side, but it's a low confidence because I think it's kind of how much of the gap can this, like, for instance, if they're playing last year, I'm laying the hell out of JMU minus for Charlotte, minus 10 for Charlotte. So that's kind of the thing when you have that transition, as we've talked about a bunch of times in the show, where this is the year this is the new college football where teams, instead of their 1 to 6 point power rating change, like, does Charlotte go up a touchdown and does JMU drop 10 points because they've lost one of those? So again, there's a little bit more unknown. I agree. I think 10 or better is the right side.
Very high variance game. Both teams. I mean, we're talking 40 plus new players, the roster for both teams.
Yeah.
So very high variance game. JMU might beat them by. I love Bob Chesney. Just want to say that. Love the new coach.
Yeah, that's
a 3 touchdown win or a Charlotte outright win. So wouldn't be stunned by either.
Our boy, our man, Bob Chesney. I'm glad he got that. I think he'll once he gets some players in, I think he'll have JMU back rolling.
I think he's okay even this year, because I mean their win total is what, 8.5.
Yeah,
I haven't played the under. I mean, even though I've downgraded their power rating, more than a touchdown, they got a very advantageous schedule this year. So I think they'll be okay there. Charlotte's new quarterback is that Max Brown kid from Florida. I think they'll be an upgrade there at quarterback.
Oh yeah, I agree. I like
really
that.
Bad quarterback play last year.
Yes.
It was bad. Michael in the chat, thoughts on Stanford TCU. This is going to be similar thoughts from me. Wanted to get Stanford plus 10 early. We got bet down. I'll tell you who bet it. What's his face? Blue Horseshoe got involved. It's so funny that line moved on week 1 right after we gave out Stanford over win total on this podcast. So on this show, I should say. Again, 10 or above is good. We talked about it. I actually think the line closes like 8.5 TCU there.
Yeah, we talked about that previous shows. Agree with you. Maybe you can find a place to give you like a 10 minus 120 at this point. because I agree. I think this could close this closer to a touchdown. And Stanford maybe a little live here.
Yeah, I think they are live. Just Stanford's going from bottom 5 returning production in the country to top 5. There might not be a bigger upgrade. And I love their coaching staff. I thought that even last year when they were dealt a really bad hand, somehow lost to an FCS team and still won 3 games. I know they're in a new conference, a lot of travel. They are a dangerous team. I think on a week in and week out basis, I'll be betting them ATS. I bet them over their win total. Bet them in this week 1 game. Love Stanford. Big buyer of them this year. Trevor in the chat, anything on Kentucky? High production return on defense. Georgia transfer linebacker. He's running back, quarterback to the NFL. I think if Vandegrift can step in, limit turnovers, they get an upset or 2. I like Kentucky. I bet over 6.5. Gave it out. People questioned it, but I like it. I seem to be on an island on Kentucky. I think he's done a good job recruiting. Obviously, they consistently find a way to win 7 games every year. Like what he did in the portal. The Ohio State running back kid, that Chip kid will be good. I think Vandegrift, I've seen enough on a couple spring games that'll be okay. I know people think he's downgrade from Leary. I don't think Devin Leary was healthy last year. So, and I know it's not sexy, but go deep dive into Kentucky's offense and defensive lines. Their meat and potatoes are pretty good. So I like Kentucky over 6.5.
That was going to be my, and again, when we've talked Kentucky, it's the one. I agree that Leary wasn't that good, and what do you get from Vandegrift? Where I think he's kind of the great unknown. Obviously, big time recruit. Never really seemed like he was in the mix at Georgia, so don't know what to make of that totally. But I agree, like there's enough structure in place there to where they're always around. They're never going to bottom out or anything like that to 4 or 5 wins. So. I agree. I think it's kind of on the razor edge as far as, like what it's going to be, but I don't hate the play either way.
All right. We got to get to the nitty gritty here because you got to go. Do you got a best bet off the top of your head? Or are we going to search around here?
I think we're going to have to search. I didn't come in. Didn't come in firing today.
All right. I didn't either, but I'm looking at the chat. There are some, I'm just going to give you, I've been talking about a lot of these conference, things that I bet as far as conference futures. Egg in the chat. He sent this at 114, Zach. Western Michigan, MAC 10-1. I have made that exact bet 10-1. I like that one. So that's another conference future. I told you UTSA, I made that bet. Told you Alabama at plus 950. I made that bet. So there's 3 as far as conference futures. Bet a little to win a lot. I made all 3 of those bets. So hopefully Western Michigan, Alabama, UTSA. There's 3. That should be good, right? Instead of giving out another win total.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right, do you disagree with any of them? It's a second-year coach. I worry a little bit as far as new OC, new DC, but I think Miami's worse this year. Toledo's got nobody back. Northern Illinois, can you trust him? That head coach is feast or famine. I do like BG personally, but Western Michigan is one of the bets that I made in that conference at 10-1.
Yeah, you know what? Probably the most, just a macro, that the most disappointing I've been this year is that I thought most of the G5 futures were priced pretty well. Like, there wasn't one of them. Like, I remember when they came out, I texted you. I was about to get the bag and get in the car and go run down.
There wasn't much.
Yeah, we kind of, and again, those, I agree. Like, I don't disagree with those, but there wasn't anywhere it's like, oh my God, we got to hit. So, yeah, I don't hate that. I think the MAC pretty wide open in general, more so than a lot of years. Like, I would say more so than recent years, where I think you've had a couple, cream of the crop teams at the top, where I agree that Toledo, the Miami, Ohio's, don't think they're on that level anymore.
And for those of you that really pay attention to what we say, there was a total mention on this show that is best bet material. I'm not going to say specifically, but if you were listening closely, you know which one it is. It won't be a sexy one. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, I bet the over on those 2 teams. Not this year. You don't. So that's a very contrarian play. You got anything else, man? I wish you good luck at the doctor.
Yeah, hopefully, Joey K will be walking a little looser this week.
All right. Well, we look forward to a more loose, if that could possibly be, Joey K on next week's show. And speaking of next week's show, we'll be back with you guys. Looks like there's a possibility we might be moving the show to this time. To be determined. Yeah, I got Moretto. Moretto's texting me during the show. Phillips is getting me before the show. I don't know. There's chatter that they want to move the showtime. So
yeah, we can have our social guy do a poll here. Whether what time do people like? Whether the 4 or 5 start. If we want to move it to the 4 time permanently. So yeah, we're open. We're flexible.
sounds good. That is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Joey Knish. For producer extraordinaire Zach Phillips. Sorry guys, we didn't get to all the questions and comments today. Again, we got another week. Next Monday is July 1st, and that's really we're going to start heating up here. We're going to start doing some conference previews here in the next week or two. So for all that information and more, make sure you're checking out Hit the Books. And for Joey Knish, Zach Phillips, I'm merely Brad Powers. You just watched Hit the Books, part of the Hammer Betting Network.